Back in 2024, Crystal Palace paid £15 million for Maxence Lacroix. Now, 2 years later, some of Europe's biggest clubs are reportedly keeping a very close eye on him. And if I'm being real, I can see why. Because when you first look at Lacroix, you see a centre-back, someone who can play in a back three. But when you actually watch him, you start seeing something very different. You start seeing pace, aggression, recovery speed that honestly shouldn't even exist in a player that is 6'3". And then you suddenly start to understand why Oliver Glasner wanted him so badly. So for me, the real question isn't whether I believe Lacroix is good, and you shouldn't even be asking that. The real question is, has Crystal Palace quietly developed one of the Premier League's most underrated defenders? Let me know in the comment section what you guys think, and let's get into the video. So before we take a deeper look at Lacroix, let's talk about him as a player. 26 years of age, born in France, he developed at Sochaux before eventually making his name in Germany with Wolfsburg. And that's where this gets interesting, because the manager who brought him to Wolfsburg was Oliver Glasner. So when Glasner arrived at Crystal Palace and needed a defender capable of playing in his aggressive back three system, guess who he called? Lacroix. That wasn't a coincidence. That was a manager specifically targeting a player he trusted to execute his ideas. And after watching him this season, you can see exactly why. So, when you look at Lacroix's heat map, something immediately stands out. This isn't the heat map of a defender who spends 90 minutes camped inside his own penalty area. He's constantly trying to step forward, constantly engaging, constantly looking to win the ball before danger can even develop. And that will tell you a lot about the type of defender that he actually is, because we already know in modern football, the best centre-backs can't just defend. They've got to solve problems before they happen. And that's exactly what Lacroix tries to do. Under Oliver Glasner, Crystal Palace play with that aggressive back three. The defenders aren't asked to simply hold their positions and clear crosses all game. They've got to be proactive. They're asked to squeeze space. They're asked to follow attackers into uncomfortable areas. And Lacroix thrives in that environment. One of the biggest reasons is his athleticism. At 6'3", he has recovery speed that honestly, it looks a little bit unfair at times. If Palace lose the ball high up the pitch, he can sprint back and recover. If an attacker tries to spin him behind, he has the pace to match them. If a teammate does get dragged out of position, Lacroix often becomes the player covering the space left behind. And this is exactly why clubs are becoming obsessed with defenders like him. Think about the best teams in Europe, whether it be a Liverpool, an Arsenal, a City, Bayern Munich, Barcelona. They all want to push their defensive line higher and higher up pitch. The problem is that when you do that, you do leave huge spaces in your defense. If your centre-back can't run, then you're definitely in trouble. But Lacroix, he can do that. And that alone immediately makes him attractive. And there is another side to his game that often does get overlooked. It's his ball progression. When many defenders receive possession, their first instinct is safety. Pass sideways, pass backwards, keep the ball moving. But Lacroix doesn't always think like that. He's constantly looking forward. He's willing to break lines. He's willing to carry the ball into midfield. He's willing to attempt progressive passes through pressure. Sometimes the passes don't always come off, fair enough, but the mentality, trust me, the mentality, it's important. He wants to advance attacks, not just participate in them. And then, when you combine that with his recovery speed, you start seeing why coaches value him so highly. Because modern football increasingly revolves around controlling territory. You need defenders who can defend huge spaces behind them, but you also need defenders capable of helping you build attacks. Lacroix offers you both. The aggressive defending, the recovery pace, the physicality, the ability to carry the ball forward, the willingness to play progressive passes. It's actually quite easy to see why Glasner trusted him in Germany. And it's even easier to understand why other clubs continue to monitor him. So, obviously looking now at the areas he does potentially need to improve upon. And I'm looking at one of the things when I'm thinking about a Lacroix, and I think mainly it's his decision-making. Because obviously when you're an aggressive defender, you sometimes do get caught being a little bit too aggressive. Lacroix, he's someone who does like to step out. He likes to try and anticipate those passes. He likes trying to win the ball early. But when the timing is wrong, the space behind him can become very vulnerable. The second thing I'd look at is his consistency in possession. His ambition is actually one of his strengths, but occasionally those ambitious passes can become turnovers. And I promise you, at the highest level, margins get smaller. But the good news is most of these weaknesses are directly linked to the qualities that make him an exciting player in the first place. I'd much rather have to calm a defender down than teach him how to be brave. And when you look at someone like Lacroix, yes, I've labeled them as areas to improve, but that's when he's trying to get to that next level. Can he reach the heights of some of the best defenders to ever play in the Premier League and across Europe? I believe he can, and I think he's got all the tools to be able to do so. Well, I guess really the question is, do you think your team should spend the money on a Maxence Lacroix? In my opinion, I think they should. I'm looking at teams like Liverpool, Manchester United, Aston Villa, Chelsea. These are teams I feel he could easily go straight into their starting 11. And if not starting 11, he's most definitely that third choice centre-back. But to be honest, I do feel that he's good enough to be the starting centre-back. Recovery speed, athleticism, physical presence, confidence, and the ability to be able to defend those huge spaces. These are things that are going to be difficult for you to find in today's market, and especially at a good deal. I believe he could definitely do a job for most of the top teams. What do you guys think about Lacroix? Let me know your thoughts in the comment section, people. Stay blessed, keep the same energy, and I'll catch you guys real soon. Peace!